that the kids who have the most advantages have the highest test scores, and the kids with the least have the lowest test scores.
If you tell me for a given school how many kids are on free or reduced lunch, how many kids have two parents at home, what kind of cars they drive, if they drive, and so on, I can predict with chilling accuracy what the average test score is going to be.
If we know that family income is driving the test scores, these are not tests of intelligence. And if we say race and socioeconomic status impact the test scores, then maybe these aren't tests of intelligence. These are tests of other factors that we don't wish to acknowledge.
In the 50th year of Brown versus the Board of Education, it is tragic, but we still have segregation. The segregation is that our poorer schools with higher need get less, and they're expected to perform at the same level with less resources going in. If you truly want No Child Left Behind, then there has to be equity.
We have actually one of the most inequitable school systems in the world, certainly in the industrialized world. We have wide disparities in the funding that goes to schools. And so we have schools that are outfitted like the Taj Mahal in some wealthy suburbs. And then we have schools that lack paper and books, have crumbling facilities, have no art or music or libraries. Dreadful conditions, third world conditions in many of our schools. And then we have an accountability system that says everybody reach the same goals, despite those profound inequalities.
Instead of blaming teachers and administrators and curriculum, why don't we look poverty in the eye and say that's the major problem for America? And if you need any more proof of that, all you have to do is look at the international tests.
The PISA test is an international test where results of natural science, mathematics, and literacy is compared between different countries. What I think is frightening is that the politicians, of course, they look at the tests and the result will shape their view of education. And that's the only thing that they focus on.
You know, obviously where the competition is now, it's not in our districts or in our states. Our competition is not even just in the country. It's India and South Korea and China and Singapore, and that's what we have to be preparing our students for.
The first thing to understand about high-achieving countries is that they have very little child poverty.
Finland has 4% or so of its kids in poverty. We have 24% or so of our kids in poverty. If you adjust, here's Finland on the international test, here's the US on the international test. If you run a statistical equation in which you give Finland our rate of poverty, and you take, for the US, Finland's rate of poverty, the scores go just like this.
Our schools, which have fewer than 10% of children in poverty, are #1 in the world. And the other countries we're being compared to have all of their schools with less than 10% of children in poverty. Even our schools with as many as 25% of children in poverty, which is by international standards extraordinarily high rates of poverty, ranked #3 in the world. Even our schools with as many as 50% of children in poverty rank above international averages in reading. But we have a growing number of schools where more than 75% of children live in poverty. 1 in 5 schools in our country now has 75% or more of its children living in poverty. That is an international horror. No one in other countries can even imagine how a country could allow that to be the case.
It's really interesting having 2 kids who got to go through
3 years.
the beautiful Chipman,
Yes.
and one who got to go through the status quo. Very, very different experiences. I see of my 2 older girls far more of the influence of Chipman in their lives today than I see with Jules.
Yeah.
I remember visiting classrooms because my mom worked there. It really seemed like classes where like the kids really liked each other and got along. I remember like academic rallies, hearing about those. It just being really like a celebration of like kids' academic success, and that was really great to hear about. Although I was a bit envious when I was there, and it was not so much like that. Yeah.
Oh man, that meant everything. Again, I really excelled when I went to Chipman. I really put forth my biggest effort. That taught me to give me that drive. I remember the first rally I went to, and I wasn't a part of it. It made me want to be a part of it. And then when I crossed the threshold and I got my 3.0, I was like, oh man, that's amazing. And then I seen people getting 0.5 growth, and it's like 0.5, but it made me feel that much better. So I got the 0.5 and I had the 3.5, and it just kept growing, and I always felt better and better, and I always pushed my fellow peers to, try to put more effort in as well, because we were all in it together. We felt like it,
I was jealous of my sister.